Airbus stopped building this aircraft in 2021. Every other major airline is getting rid of theirs. And Emirates just spent $6 billion making sure they keep flying until 2041. Airbus closed the assembly line after producing just 251 airframes. The very last Superjumbo off the line arrived at Emirates in December 2021, sealing the end of the largest passenger jet program in history. At its peak, the official sticker price for a new A380 reached $445.6 million. Yet major carriers rarely paid face value, typically negotiating steep discounts of 30 to 50%. Today, the financial reality of this double-decker has shifted entirely. On the secondary market, a used A380 now trades for a fraction of its original cost, commanding between $25 million and $77 million. The asset has depreciated rapidly, leaving most airlines eager to walk away. Emirates did not just participate in the A380 program, it practically consumed it. The airline purchased 116 of these double-decker jets, securing roughly 1/3 of every A380 ever produced. To protect this massive investment, Emirates began aggressively buying back additional airframes from its long-term lessors, taking full ownership of its operational destiny. By late 2025, 95 of these aircraft were actively flying routes across the globe. Now, the airline is reactivating stored airframes with the goal of pushing its active, operational fleet to approximately 110 Superjumbos by the end of 2026. Emirates President Sir Tim Clark has confirmed that these massive aircraft will remain in service until 2041. It is a 16-year operating promise that tethers the airline's future to a machine that is no longer being built. Emirates is backing its operating promise with a massive $5 to $6 billion fleet modernization program. This effort covers 219 wide-body aircraft, representing the largest retrofit initiative in aviation history. Originally planned for just 120 planes, the airline expanded the scope to ensure cabin consistency across its entire long-haul network. Every overhaul takes place in-house at the Emirates engineering facilities in Dubai. By mid-2026, technicians completed the 100th aircraft under the program, delivering 47 refurbished A380s alongside 53 Boeing 777s. The expansion adds premium capacity, installing more than 3,800 new premium economy seats. Managing a project of this scale requires extreme precision. The true complexity of the project is best understood by looking closely at a single aircraft. A 6EUX, a 9-year-old airframe, arrived at the Dubai hangar configured with the most packed layout in commercial aviation. 615 seats split across just 2 classes. To transform this high-density workhorse, engineers stripped the cabin entirely, removing 120 economy seats and sacrificing raw volume. In their place, technicians installed 56 premium economy seats in a spacious 2-3-2 layout on the upper deck, the first time this cabin class has occupied the Superjumbo's top level. The modification also added 18 extra business class seats, expanding that cabin to 76 lie-flat berths. Rebuilding this single aircraft required 35,000 man-hours of precision labor and more than 2,500 custom-manufactured parts. When A6EUX rolled out of the hangar, its total capacity had dropped to 569 seats. This physical reduction serves a clear financial purpose. By sacrificing 46 economy seats, Emirates increased its premium inventory from 9% to 23% of the cabin. On slot-constrained routes where adding more flights is impossible, trading raw passenger volume for higher fare premium seats dramatically increases the revenue generated from every single takeoff. On May 20th, 2026, the newly configured A6EUX returned to the skies, operating flights EK39 and EK40 between Dubai and Birmingham. This inaugural run launched a broader commercial test. Emirates plans to convert all 15 of its remaining 2-class A380s by the end of 2026. Beyond these initial airframes, a next phase covering 60 A380s and 51 Boeing 777s begins in August 2026. In parallel, technicians are installing Starlink satellite Wi-Fi across 232 aircraft. Modernizing this giant fleet keeps passengers connected, but it also tethers the airline's financial future to an orphaned aircraft type. Airbus halted new A380 component manufacturing in 2021, leaving operators without a traditional factory supply chain. To prevent its massive fleet from grounding, Emirates transformed its Dubai engineering hub into a self-contained manufacturing facility. Technicians now manufacture cabin interiors on-site, fabricating everything from complex seat frames and plastic panels to entire galley modules. Behind closed hangar doors, the airline expanded its engine overhaul bays, servicing both the Rolls-Royce Trent 900 and Engine Alliance GP7200 power plants entirely in-house. To survive, Emirates is actively cannibalizing the global secondary market, systematically stockpiling major structural components harvested directly from retired and stored airframes. This extreme push for self-reliance is born out of sheer necessity. Sir Tim Clark warned that supply chain limits and critical part shortages are the single biggest long-term threat to the fleet's survival. In an industry moving on to twin-engine efficiency, Emirates is left to support an abandoned giant entirely on its own. No manufacturer currently builds an aircraft of comparable capacity. The wider industry has retreated to flexible, twin-engine aircraft to avoid the high operating costs of 4 engines, but these smaller jets cannot replicate the Superjumbo's role. Emirates has ordered the Airbus A380 and the Boeing 777X, yet neither matches the A380's volume. Sir Tim Clark repeatedly lobbied Airbus for a double-deck successor, claiming a modern redesign could operate 20 to 25% more efficiently than the A380's 1990s generation engines. Airbus refused. Clark has warned that losing these giant aircraft will restrict capacity at slot-constrained airports, ultimately driving airfares higher. While twin-engine jets offer better fuel economics, they leave airlines with an unresolved trade-off: adopt newer, cleaner technology, or maintain unmatched passenger volume. The physical limits of the Airbus A380 are bound by a rigid engineering threshold. Airbus designed the Superjumbo for a service life of roughly 100,000 flight hours, which equates to about 20 years of operation. For many of Emirates' oldest airframes, that terminal clock is ticking. The global pandemic provided a temporary reprieve. The fleet-wide grounding between March 2020 and December 2021 paused the accumulation of flight hours, effectively extending the calendar lifespan of these massive aircraft. But this pause only delayed the inevitable onset of structural fatigue. As the fleet ages, the technical and financial demands of heavy maintenance will rise. Every 10 to 12 years, each A380 must undergo a complete D-check, a nose-to-tail structural teardown. These overhauls currently cost between $10 million and $12 million per aircraft. Industry analysts project that by the early 2030s, these costs will rise to $15 million per check, rapidly eroding the Superjumbo's remaining profit margins. Between 2027 and 2030, a massive wave of midlife D-checks will hit the fleet, testing the limits of Emirates Engineering's Dubai hangar capacity. Yet, Emirates has little choice but to absorb these mounting expenses. Dubai's hub model relies entirely on routing massive passenger volumes through a slot-constrained airport. Without the A380 to maximize capacity on high-demand routes, the airline's entire network structure faces a bottleneck that smaller aircraft simply cannot fix. The 2041 deadline remains a high-stakes strategy against time. Emirates' own engineers acknowledge that operating beyond this date will be difficult and costly. As the global supply chain for this aircraft continues to shrink, the airline is left with a final, unresolved question. Can enough serviceable airframes, engines, cabin parts, and skilled labor survive to keep the world's largest passenger jet in the air? To follow the engineering and economic battles surrounding the world's largest passenger jet, subscribe now. Today, Emirates stands alone, fighting the laws of aviation economics. If this massive gamble fails, Dubai's hub faces a bottleneck it cannot bypass. By forcing an abandoned giant into the future, Emirates isn't just flying an aircraft, they are defying an entire industry's reality.